Well, that's pretty much how I feel about socialism in America. This is my video response to Wealth Inequality in America. The original video went viral after it was posted on YouTube, then embedded and shared on Facebook, Reddit, Mashable, Upworthy, and Daily Finance. It got about 4 million views in 10 days. It just troubles me because most of those 4 million people probably think that socialism is a good idea. Now let me tell you something, I am still in my 20s, and I'm very disappointed with most of my generation. They appear to have bought into the lies of Occupy Wall Street and wealth redistribution. I'm not very popular being a conservative from Massachusetts, but I refuse to remain silent on this issue.
A Harvard business professor and economist asked more than 5,000 Americans how they thought wealth was distributed in the United States.
Did anyone else notice anything about the opening line to this video? This is called framing an issue. From the beginning, the question isn't, should wealth be redistributed, but rather, how do you think wealth is distributed? Automatically, the nature of this video is designed to trick you into thinking we have some sort of right to A, know your next door neighbor's personal financial situation, and B, infringe upon your next door neighbor's personal financial situation. This is America, folks. That's not how we do things, and that's not cool.
Then he asked them what they thought was the ideal distribution.
This is very interesting to me. Let's get this straight. A super smart Harvard professor and economist decides to ask 5,000 people what they think. Excuse me, Mr. Man on the street, who happens to not be informed about the economy. What do you think about wealth distribution? Okay, great. Thanks to your uninformed economic opinion, now I have concrete data to include in my graph, so that the numbers look extreme, shocking, and mind-blowing when compared to reality. Please don't be scared into thinking a little socialism is good. More on that later.
So ignore the ideal for a moment. Here's what we think it is again. And here is the actual distribution. Shockingly skewed.
Why are we comparing what we think with what we think would be ideal? Why are we even talking about wealth distribution in the first place? Newsflash, you should have learned this when you were 5 years old. Life is not fair. No matter how much you think about the ideal, actual life will never be fair. And again, it's none of your business how much money your next door neighbor makes. Sure, we should hold big banks and business accountable if they're milking the system. There are legal channels to do that, the best of which is voting for people who have the best interest of the country and the Constitution in mind. What we don't need to do is topple the entire economic system based on a few greedy folks. If they are corrupt, vote them out. If they are not elected officials, vote for people who will hold white-collar lawbreakers accountable.
Mind-blowing. But let's look at it another way, because I find this chart kind of difficult to wrap my head around.
Yes, there is a very obvious reason you find this chart that you created hard to wrap your head around. It's all a lie. It's beautifully illustrated, it conveys a very clear message, and it was well produced. So I'm sure it will fool many uninformed people into thinking a little socialism is okay. But that's like being a little pregnant. You can't be a little bit socialist. Once you start down that track and the freight train gets moving in that direction, I can't think of anything that would stop it. Don't take my word for it. Just ask anyone who fled to the U.S. from a socialist or communist country.
Well, here's socialism, all the wealth of the country distributed equally. We all know that won't work. We need to encourage people to work and work hard to achieve that good old American dream and keep our country moving forward.
Am I the only one picking up on the sarcasm in the narrator's voice? I could be wrong, but it sounds like the author harbors some animosity toward the American dream. But wait a minute, this guy even admits that absolute socialism won't work. Yet he just wants to do a little bit. So we would essentially be implementing a small amount of something that wouldn't work. That makes no sense.
9 out of 10 people, 92%, said this was a nice, ideal distribution of America's wealth.
Let me get this straight. We have 9 out of 10 people, 92% of the 5,000 surveyed who have an inaccurate perception of the current economy to begin with. These people don't see wealth for what it actually is, and yet they are defining what the ideal should be. This makes no sense. Shouldn't this Harvard professor and economist be telling us about the ideal? Oh, and by the way, if wealth redistribution is on the table now, why not debt redistribution or property redistribution?
We certainly don't have to go all the way to socialism to find something that is fair for hardworking Americans.
Oh, really? We don't have to go all the way to socialism? Again, I mentioned earlier about framing the issue. So what you're saying is we only need to go halfway there? Then we can stop and everyone will be happy?
All we need to do is wake up and realize that the reality in this country is not at all what we think it is.
Well, if socialism still sounds wonderful to you, please find a socialist country and move there. But remember this quote from Margaret Thatcher: "Sooner or later, you will run out of other people's money." Thank you for watching Wealth Inequality in America Remix. This has been my opinion on the matter. If you agree, please share it. I made this video response because I won't stand by and do nothing while my generation of 20-somethings is largely being fooled by the lie of socialism.